Hello students, welcome to the lecture. This is the second lecture for the chapter Material Costing, and today we will start with the flowchart for material procurement procedure. We're going to see that how the material is procured in any manufacturing organization. Okay, in the previous lecture we have already discussed the concept of material cost. Also, we have seen some of the concept of material control, and I hope you have revised the previous lecture. If not, please revise the previous lecture before moving toward this lecture. So, moving ahead with this, we are going to discuss chart of material procurement procedure. You can see in your screen the flow chart. Okay, I'm going to explain this flow chart to you. So first we have a planning department, or you can say an engineering department, which is like an head of all the production departments. So and then we have a production department. Okay, and the planning department actually issues a bills of materials, that is the list of materials that is to be required for the production of a particular product, finished goods. Okay, then second they do is material requisition. Okay, so this material requisition is basically the list of the materials which are required to be issued by the production department or by the store for the purpose of production of a finished goods. So that is issued by production department to the store. Okay, and then we have a purchase requisition that store will going to issue to the purchase department. So that is on the basis of the needs of the product that is required, the raw materials that is required, which is being requested by the production department from the store department, that these list of materials are required by us. Okay, these are the list of materials which are required by us to basically produce the finished goods. So on the basis of that material requisition list, the purchase requisition list is made by the store department and it is sent to the purchase department. Then purchase department will issue a tender or request for the proposal to the supplier and to different suppliers that I need to produce suppose 100 kg of cotton. I have contacted 5 suppliers. I'm asking for the rates from all the suppliers, and the suppliers with the minimum of the rate I'm going to accept that particular supplier and the best quality, obviously, and minimum rate and the best quality. Okay, so accordingly the supplier will send a quotation to the purchase department, and then the quotation which is favorable in these two terms, that is low in cost, lowest in cost, highest in quality, will be getting the purchase order that will be placed by the purchase department to the supplier. Then supplier will issue a forma invoice, that is invoice, or you can say a bill of all those materials that will be supplied by the supplier will be mentioned in this invoice, and the payment will be done by the accounting department, and the some of receipt kind of thing also will be issued to the supplier, and again supplier is going to issue the final invoice in which the final amount and all the settlement things will be mentioned. And then this cost accounting department, then store will basically going to issue the, then basically what happened after that, the purchase department will basically deliver the goods with challan or invoice to the store. Then store will give the material return note, because if suppose on inspection, on when the goods is delivered, the store is going to inspect it. If they're going to find that there is any defect, then they will going to issue a material return note, because the store will going to return the particular defective goods which is delivered by the supplier. Okay, so that note will be given to the accounting department so that they can adjust the payment accordingly. And also store will issue the goods received note, that is the list of the goods which is actually received by the store will also be given to the accounting department, and the detail of the materials which is actually received will also be given by the store department. This is basically, you can say, this is the crux, that is how a material need is generated and how it is ordered, how it is delivered, and how it is issued to the production department. So these terms we're going to discuss each and everything in detail, and you might expect a short note or something on any of this particular term. So you have to be careful while watching this lecture. Now we have used various terms like material, bills of material, material requisition, purchase requisition, tender, quotation, purchase order, performer invoice, payment and Form C, invoice, goods delivered, goods received note, material return note. So let us discuss all these words one by one in a technical manner, and then we're going to move ahead. Okay. So this is bill of material. Bill of material is also known as material specification list, or simply you can call this as material list. I have already explained this to you. It includes the list of all the materials that is required by the production department. So it basically gives a schedule of standard quantity of material. It also includes the quantity of material that is required for a particular production. Okay. And it is a comprehensive material list which is laid down. It gives an exact description and specification of all the materials required for a job or for other unit of production, and also it will tell you the quantities that you require, and if there is any deviation from standard list, it can easily detect it, because it will obviously say that you will need 100 kg of cotton to manufacture suppose 50 t-shirts. So if you are if you need more than 100 kg of cotton to produce the same finished goods, then obviously there is some deviation which is need to be checked, and this bill of material is going to help you in analyzing that deviation, in finding out that deviation. Next is the generally bill of material is basically sent to production control department, store department, and cost accounting department, and one copy is kept with planning department. So it is issued by the planning department and it is sent to 3 departments. First is production control department, second is store department, and third is cost accounting department. What is importance of this bill of material to store department? Now it serves as a basis for the storekeeper to prepare the material purchase requisition. So when it is given to store department, how he is going to use this? He is basically going to prepare a material purchase requisition on the basis of bill of material. Means he is going to understand that how much purchase order he need to place to get all the materials which are required. Okay, and it is also act as an authorization for issuing total material requirements. It's like the head office is basically giving an authority to the store department to basically issue this much of the materials. Okay, this much quantity of the material. And clerical activity is reduced as authorized department can draw the material and store department can give the material by producing the bill of material if requested material is present in the bills of material. So obviously if the production department asks for some material, and if it is mentioned in the bills of material, it becomes easy for the store department to decide whether to issue that material or not, and how much quantity to issue and how much you should not issue. So all these questions will be answered if the bill of material, a copy of bill of material is given to store department. Next is what cost department is going to do with this bill of material. It will help them to determine the total material cost which is involved in production of a particular job or a process. Now it will also help you in doing the inventory control. Okay, it will help you to find the material cost variance. What do you mean by variance? That is, there might be some standard which is set by the cost department that this should be my material cost. Suppose they have fixed that 1 crore should be my material cost. So if it goes beyond that, you will be able to find out that there is some cost variance which is going on. So you will be able to find some default, and then some rectification can be done on the same, because you know that where you are lacking. Okay. Now what is important? How it is important to the production department. Now production department, what finally can do? It can control the usage of material by taking the bill of material as a benchmark. So if that bill of material says that you need just 100 kg of cotton, and if the production department requires 110 kg of cotton, then now the work is on production department, that how I need to reduce this 10 kg consumption, where is the wastage going on. It will help them in doing that inventory control thing. Okay. Now usage of bills of material will save time, otherwise it would be wasted for preparing the separate request for material. So on the basis of bills of material only, the material requisition note can be drawn, or the same can be used for the purpose of material requisition. Okay. Next term we have is material requisition note. Now if I break this word, we have material, we have requisition, that is requesting the material. It is a note or a kind of a statement or a paper that is with the help of which you are requesting the store department to issue the material to the production department. So what it says, it is the voucher of the authority regarding issue of material for use in the factory or in any of the departments. So generally it is prepared by the production department, and materials are withdrawn on the basis of material requisition list, or simply bill of material can be used as a material requisition note. Okay. Now, a copy of this material requisition note is also sent to cost accounting department, and one will be retained with the store department. Okay. So it is issued by the production department and sent to cost department and retained, and it is presented to store. So what it says, that it is presented before the store, and on the basis of this, store will going to issue the materials on the request given by the production department, and a copy of this is sent to cost accounting department. Next we have a difference between bills of materials and material request note, because I have said that we can use bills of material as a material request note. So is it exactly the same thing, or there is a difference between the two? So there is a slight difference between the two, because you can use bill of material as a material request note, but you cannot use material request note as a bill of material. Okay, so first of all, the issuing authority for the bill of material is planning department, and for material requisition note, the authority who basically issue it is production department. Okay, so there is a change in the person who basically actually issuing these things. Now, a bill of material is a document prepared by the drawing office, that is the planning department, and it is prepared, material requisition note is prepared by consuming department, that is the production department. Okay, now bill of material gives a complete schedule of all the components and the raw materials which are required for a particular job, and material request note is the document which authorizes the storekeeper to issue the material to the consuming department. So the present need for the production department, whatever it is, presently suppose they need just 10 kg. So it is not like bill of material will give you a complete schedule for a particular month, year, quarter or something, but that material request note is not for that much longer period. It is just for a time being thing. Okay, so it is like, suppose right now I'm needing 10 kg of cotton, I'll be issuing the material request note for 10 kg of cotton. Okay, next is basically it often serves the purpose of store requisition, as it shows a complete schedule of material, and it can replace the store requisition, but material requisition cannot replace the bill of material, and bill of material is a wider term and material requisition is a narrower term, and it will be used for the purpose of quotation. So for on the basis of bill of material, the quotation will be sent by the purchase department to the supplier, and it is material requisition note is basically useful in arriving historical cost only. You cannot use it as for the purpose of placing an order. Okay, and this bill of material will help you in keeping a quantitative control on material, okay, drawn through the store requisition, because it puts in benchmark, or you can say a ceiling limit, that only this much quantity is going to use in the particular period of time. So it is particularly help you in keeping a quantitative control on the material, and this material requisition is actually drawn from the store, so it basically does not do such a kind of thing. Material, that is the list of material that is required, they are going to issue a purchase requisition, that is a request will be placed to purchase department about the list of raw materials, the quantities of raw materials that is need to be purchased by the purchasing department. So it is used for making a formal request to the purchasing department to purchase the material. Okay, it is basically formed by purchase requisition is made by the storekeeper. Okay, and it is made in a triplicate form. So it is made in 3 copies of this is made. One is sent to the purchasing department, one is retained with storekeeper, and one is given to the authorizing executive. So any person who is authorized to do such act will be given a copy of this particular purchase requisition. Okay, and the moment the purchase requisition is received by the purchasing department, the purchasing department will invite the tender or request for the proposal, okay, to the vendors, to the suppliers, and then the supplier will going to send their quotes, and on evaluating each of the quotes, they will select the best quote and terms for the placing best quote and the best terms and conditions that particular supplier is giving. Such a kind of supplier will be selected for placing the order, and then the purchase department will prepare and execute the purchase order. Okay. Now again, what do you mean by purchase order? It's a very simple thing. Here the order is to purchase a particular good is basically placed by the purchase department to the supplier on the basis of best quotation that is accepted. The purchase manager will issue a formal purchase order. It is a return request to the supplier that will contain the specific detail about the material, the specific rate, specific quantity and the specified period that within such a time you need to provide the goods to the organization, to the manufacturing unit, and 4 copies of purchase order will be generated. One will be given to supplier, one to store department, one to receiving department, and the last one to accounts department. Now, list of the receipt and inspection process of material. It is also very important point that is done by the receiving department. Once the order is placed, now after that the order will be received by the receiving department, and the first thing that they need to do is they need to inspect the material as per the purchase order, and after the satisfactory inspection that materials are received, the goods received note need to be issued by the receiving department. Okay, and if there is any defect in the material, then material return note also need to be sent to the supplier and to the accounts department. Okay, so accordingly the payment will be made, and then they will check and pass the bill of payment. Then the invoice will be generated from the supplier, will be sent to store department for checking its accuracy and correctness, and if cleared by store department, then finally the payment will be made to the supplier. Okay. Now, these are the basic responsibility for a storekeeper. This is not a very tough thing. You can read it on your own. The tough part that is starting from now is basically okay, let's discuss. The general responsibility is they need to have a control over the store. They need to keep the material in their safe custody. They need to maintain the records. They need to ensure that adequate level of stock is maintained all the time. They need to issue the material to the production department. They need to do the stock verification and reconciliation periodically. Okay. Now, we have 2 terms right now. Let me explain you on the board. Bin card and stock ledger. Let us write something about this first. Bin card is the record maintained under the perpetual inventory system by store department and shows the quantities of material received, issued, and balance in hand of the each receipt. And issue. It is also known as stock card. It is updated when receipts and issues are made in store department. Stock ledger, it refers to a document or statement that keeps the record of the value and quantity of different stock items issued, received, and their closing balance. Note this down first. Pause it and note it. I'm starting to explain this, okay? So, let's understand. What is bin card? You can get a short note on these two terms, any of these two terms. That's why I'm explaining you in detail. It says it is a record which is maintained under perpetual inventory system. So, perpetual inventory system, I have given the definition here. It is basically a method of inventory management that records the real-time transaction of received or sold stock through the use of technology. That is, as and when you have received, and as and when you have received means as and when you have purchased, or as and when you have sold the stock, this very moment this account will get updated. So this system is called as perpetual inventory system. So what does it say? It is a record which is maintained under perpetual inventory system, which is maintained by store department, and what it shows, it will show the quantity of material received, quantity of material you have purchased, how much you have issued to the production department, and how much balance you have left with after each receipt and issue is basically the bin card. So if I draw it like that, it will have like opening stock. You will going to add any receipts. Or you can say purchases less issues to production department. Okay, and you are left with balance in hand. And here you're talking about quantities. Okay, so that is your bin card. Okay, so that is, it is updated as and when the issue and receipt are made in the store department. Now next is stock ledger. That is a big thing. It is also work on a perpetual inventory system. It refers to a document, or it is, you can say it is a statement, like a profit and loss statement. You have a stock ledger account, like you have a cash ledger account, you have a stock ledger account that will keep the record of the value and the quantity. Here only quantity we were talking about only quantity. Here we are talking about both value and quantity of different stock items. Okay, not only single stock, of all the different stock items which are issued, received, and their closing balances. So it's a kind of statement. Now in later chapter, in the we are going to discuss one or two questions on the stock ledger as well, where we are going to see the format of stock ledger also. So right now just understand it is a statement which contains this kind of thing, and with the quantity it also has value. Okay. So there is a difference which is given by me here, because you can expect a question. Bin card is basically maintained by storekeeper. Stock ledger is made by costing department, and it contains only quantitative detail. It contains both quantity and value. Entries are made when transaction takes place under bin card, and this under stock ledger it is posted after the transaction has been taken place. And here each transaction is individually posted, okay, for each particular item. But here the summarized form is basically posted for the transaction, okay. And here inter-department transfer will not going to appear, but if material is transferred from one job to another, that is recorded under store ledger, okay. And bin card is also is kind of store recording document, and store ledger is an accounting record, okay. And the store ledger entries are posted from material requisition notes and goods received note, and it's an important point, bin card and stock ledger. Or you can say store ledger. Next we have objectives and functions of purchase department. So some things, so we have already discussed that what purchase department does is basically they issue the tenders, receive the quotations, select the best possible supplier. All these things are done by the purchase department. But what is the most important objective is to ensure that there is a continuous supply at lowest cost. The two main objectives that we have said is lowest cost and highest quality. So the standard of quality and delivery should be maximum and the cost should be minimum. Okay. Then it is the responsibility of purchase department to procure right type of material in the right quantity at right price, and to provide the material at right time and right place. So it's a very important line. Now we have two terms here which we need to understand. Is centralized purchasing and decentralized purchasing. So first let us write something about it, and then we're going to discuss this. It is the control by one headquarter department all purchasing, that is undertaken by business. Next is this allows for central management and volume purchases that leads to better prices and terms. Don't worry, I'll give you time to write, as well as the ability to work with larger supplies. So, what is written here? It says basically about the control by one headquarters. So the main head, that is the hierarchy that we have studied. So the main head of the production department or the purchase department will going to see all the purchasing thing that is to be done in the organization, and they will also decide the quantity and the price. Quantity of the material that is to be ordered and the price at which it should be ordered, and the terms and condition will also be decided by these people. Okay, so what it says, it is a control by the headquarter department of all the purchasing that is undertaken by the business, and it will control the this allows for the central management. Okay, so the centralization, decentralization, you might heard those two terms. So this is what you can see, a centralization kind of thing, and they will allow for the central management and volume purchases. How it is a positive thing. It will help you in getting the better prices and the better terms and condition, and you will be getting some large supplies with the help of this, and the youth suppliers, the big suppliers will going to contact you if you adopt this kind of strategy. So, and next is, if you adopt the decentralization purchasing, under this what will happen is, it is actually a reverse. It is a reverse of centralized purchasing. Okay. Next, it is suitable for organization running more than one business. And in this, each plant has its own purchasing agent. Or you can say, write this down, every department has its own purchases. Okay, every department has its own purchases. Okay, now so you can clearly say that if you have one or two plant, you can go for centralized purchases. But if you have n number of plant at n number of locations, then you cannot have this strategy. Then you need to have a decentralized purchasing where each and every unit have a different purchasing department and which will be taking a decision or with respect to purchasing of material on the basis of the needs and requirement of their organization. Okay, so that's about decentralized purchasing. Okay, so it is a reverse of centralized purchasing. It is a suitable for organization which is running more than one businesses, and in this each plant has its own purchasing agent. Okay, so each of these methods have some positives and negatives. So let us see some advantages of both. So advantages of centralized purchasing is you will have be able to avoid duplication of error, because sometimes what happens that if you have more than 2% doing same thing, it leads to some misunderstanding, miscommunication that leads to various error. There might be any double order placed by for the same department. So these things can be avoided, and it provides better negotiating power, and consequently it will give you the better prices. Because for example, if you go alone to buy other vegetables, you will not be going to able to like bargain with the thela wala, okay, with the sabji wala. But when you go with your mom or your dad for getting the vegetable, then the vegetable seller will going to negotiate in a better way. You will be getting the better prices. So it's like that. If the head of the department is talking, then everyone is going to value them and will going to offer a great price. Then the next is ensures uniformity in purchasing policies, practices, and procedures. So if the same person is doing the same thing all the time, then obviously they'll be following the norms that is made by the organization with respect to the purchasing policies, practices, and procedure. But if there are n number of people involved in the same thing, there might be a possibility that one or two might not be following the same policy and procedure. Okay, and you will be following standardization, and the standardization process that is required to be followed will be followed in case of centralized purchasing. Now in case of decentralized purchasing, what will be the advantages? It will give the full liberty to the plant manager, and it will help in avoiding the problem with coordination. Because sometimes what happens that suppose you for example, in a general language, you say if you have some project in school, you require some of the materials to accomplish that project. If you say it to your friend or to your mother or father to bring these things to you, they might not bring that thing up to the mark or up to the level that you have expected to get. So it is basically also lead to some problem with respect to coordination, that you have explained something and some other person has understand some other thing. So to avoid these kind of situation, the decentralization purchasing basically helps, and then it will cut down the unnecessary paperwork, and it will help you to develop the contact with local vendors, and it helps the purchase department to familiarize with materials which are in use, because they are using those materials on a regular basis. They know much more in detail about those materials than the head of the department. Okay, now the next thing is techniques of inventory control. Now our main chapter is going to start. That is, we're going to discuss the different techniques, and along with that, we're going to discuss the question on almost each and every technique. Okay, so be ready with this. From the next lecture, we're going to discuss the technique, and then we're going to discuss some question with respect to the same. So accordingly, we were going to discuss the things. So the techniques that we're going to discuss is first fixation of various levels. Then we will have ABC analysis. Then we have two-bin system, and then we'll have use of perpetual inventory system and continuous verification. And then we have order cycling system, use of control plan, minimum maximum plan, review of slow and non-moving items. So the basically we need to understand EOQ, economic order quantity. Then we're going to discuss the ABC analysis. Then we're going to discuss two-bin system. Okay. Then most important thing, we're going to discuss inventory turnover ratio, how it is going to help you in doing the inventory control, input output ratio. Then there are two methods, that is LIFO, last in first out, and first in first out. So these are the main 5 methods that we're going to talk about, and along with this we're going to discuss the questions on the basis of each of the methods. And for this you need to wait for the next lecture. In that we're going to discuss the theory of economic order quantity, and we're going to start with the questions for economic order quantity. Okay, so till then please revise this lecture and the previous lecture before moving towards next lecture. Thank you. And before moving towards next lecture, please keep your calculators with yourself. Okay, thank you.